for a moment here. I'm also doing this, I believe, through my YouTube channel as well as Facebook. I thought I was going to try to put it through LinkedIn, but apparently LinkedIn has made some changes and you can't do a live broadcast. So I am now broadcasting somewhere through YouTube and definitely through Facebook. And this is an opportunity to put out a few updates because I would love all of you to know what am I up to now. Maybe I ought to call that a topic. What am I up to now? Well, this is always, I'm always happy to be able to come on and share things of this nature so that everyone can be up to date. And so, one of the most important things I want people to realize is I have a lot of books, folks, a lot of books out there. And hopefully, in the next couple of years, I'll have over a dozen books on Amazon. Right now, as of July the 16th, I have a total of 5 books on Amazon. The first one was Dancing in the Light of Divine Grace, that went up in 2018. Uh, in May of 2018. Then in October of 2018, I had the pleasure of putting a book up, which was called The Wisdom of Akhenaten as I Am. And I could show you that one. The Wisdom of Akhenaten as I Am went up. Dancing in the Light of Divine Grace was my first book that I actually wrote and published in 2004. So those 2 books went up the same year. Then in 2019, I brought up the companion book, which is The Gift, the Wisdom of Nefertiti as I Am. And those 2 books are what we call channel books. Nothing was written down on paper, just went into a deep silent meditation and began to draw unto myself the words and the images and was able to describe whole teachings that I remembered being back in those days with them. Then in 2020, and the Nefertiti book came out around the springtime of 2019. And then we have The Age of Remembrance. The Age of Remembrance came out in 2020. And that's right here, The Age of Remembrance, the Divine I Am Presence and Celebration. And it's all about my experience on call night, which I keep a lot of different portions around, like this one here. And also, the most recent book came out July the 16th, 2020, which was a Friday, I believe. And that's this book, It Shall Be, Speak as I Am. Most of the things I try is put books and things out that you can connect with on some level. And that last one, Decree and It Shall, came about because I have a 5-point creative path work intensive training program that deals with the 5 vessels, as they're called in this book, which are meditation, affirmation, prayer, affirmative prayer, and decree. But in the course, they're referred to as the 5 points. And in the course, it shows you how to utilize all of them together. Most of us in our lives have, depending on our background, most of us have learned prayer in the beginning. Many of us have learned now over the past 20, 30 years that affirmations are important. Many of us have learned something for be able to offer spiritual treatment to ourselves, and that's affirmative prayer. and then decrees. But in the course, you learn how to use the power of all of them. You learn how to activate them, and you learn that there is a connection between those points as vessels, how you are connected, and how you activate or charge them up for yourself. And so I'm not sure, and I don't know if anyone else is actually teaching something like this, but I know I am, and I've taught it before. I've even written prayers, I've written spiritual treatments, which are the affirmative prayers. I've written decrees for others. I've written, designed, and created meditations for people, just about tailored made affirmations for people. So I know the potency behind each one of those 5 points as 5 vessels in our lives, and I know that they do work. And I've remember over the years, many people used to say all the time, man, those things don't work. Things such as affirmations really don't work. Well, they do. You just have to know how to work them. That's the thing. You have to know how to put them into motion, and then you'll find that they are working for you. If they're not working for you, it's only because you don't quite understand how they work for you. And so it has always been this opportunity to be able to do this and to make sure that people are getting it. So I'm always on here. I'm always coming out to put people in touch with their spiritual nature and how they can make that spiritual nature work for them. Now, you see me kind of looking down here. I'm trying to see and to make sure I'm coming across. I think what happens is sometimes when we put this out uh, in this manner, is perhaps like a delayed reaction. So, right about now, I should be seeing or hearing myself on here, but I'm not actually catching it through my phone yet. Well, again, this is a golden opportunity for you to see me. One of the things I'm going to mention, literally, as they say off the bat, like a pitcher throws a ball, one of the things I want to mention is that, and I'll check this later. One of the things I want to mention is that a longtime friend of mine, we go way back to first meeting in 1978. The exact date was December the 7th, 1978, at the corner of 1 West 125th Street and Lenox Avenue, which I was thinking the other day if Lenox Avenue was 4th Street, but Lenox Avenue in Harlem is 6th Avenue. So we met there. It was a Saturday, and I had got in touch with this gentleman, my longtime numerology brother, Lloyd Strahorn, because I wanted to see what else I didn't know. I had already been studying numerology for about 4 years. I started in early part of July. I can tell you exactly when, July 2nd of 1974, about a whole month, 32 days after graduating from Bard College as a painting or art major. And getting this opportunity, I've been studying, I had been doing what I thought was reports. I had no idea what was the proper term at the time, but I was, since I couldn't type fast, I would hand write my charts and reports. And back in those days, I had extremely good penmanship. I don't have it now, but I had extremely good penmanship, and I was writing my charts, my reports, and some of those back to back And lately, when I was doing them, I couldn't do them back to back because I want to make sure people could read. So I'd have 20 pages one side. And then people would pay me. Back then, I think I was only doing like 15, 16, $17 a report. So, and then eventually I got into typing. And then eventually I got that little thing called put out by Brother. It was a thermal word processor and type with the little tiny screen. So now I could type out a chart for people, but it had to come out on a special paper. And then later I learned, okay, I didn't have to use that special paper. I could use regular paper with a different type of ribbon in it and still type out the information for people. Well, that went on for about 4 years. I was getting bored and I needed somebody to connect. Back in those days, you used to have pen pals, right? You used to write people from foreign countries or from different states through websites or agencies because you wanted to link up. You wanted to know if someone else was doing something like you were doing. And because my older brother and I used to go to the Tree of Life bookstore on Wednesday nights after a business meeting with the Moorish Science Temple, which I was a member at one point, and he still is. We would go after the meeting was over. Meeting would go like from 6 o'clock, and we'd be out the door at 7:30. And then my brother was driving at the time, so we drive over to Harlem, and we go to the Tree of Life bookstore. And there we started meeting the owner, Kanya, whose real name is last name is McGee. Vashon McGee is his name. He was a stockbroker, a New York City stockbroker. He made some money. He opened up a store which had lots of books, and he brought a lot of people in, men and women, to teach metaphysical and spiritual occult work, history of the African diaspora, all the people, Pan Africanism, everything. He had it there. And what was great about his shop was the children getting off from school. He made arrangements eventually with parents in that surrounding area who were working maybe one or two jobs or working late. So he had a part of this store set up so that the children could come there and do their homework. And he'd have one or two people there acting as tutors. And acting as tutors, which also was helping the young boys and girls to get into their educational work. And then after that, he would teach them something that they got from a book and so on. And he had chairs all over, long tables with chairs, couches, you name it. And this was something that went on a lot in several other bookshops around New York City. I remember going further downtown, down in the Greenwich Village area. There were certain stores there, bookstores, old bookstores, where people had couches and you can sit down and you can read a book, at least read the used book. Not the new one, but the used book. So it was like a library, you see. And so, anyway, I saw a flyer that had numbers floating all over it. And it said Lloyd Strahorn, astronumerologist, that phone number for more information about classes. Well, Lloyd was teaching numerology, beginner's numerology classes right there at the Tree of Life bookstore during the week. And Lloyd himself lived right around the corner. I think he still does in the upper one West 130s off of Lenox Avenue, where he could get down to the store 10 blocks down south and go in there and teach his numerology classes. And they were usually 8-week class. Classes back in the day were like $3 a class. Very easy. And of course, if you didn't have the $3, you could pay $1 or $2 or 50 cents, whatever you could. That's how Kanye ran the shop. And I got a chance to meet Lloyd for the first time, December 7th, 1978. And I took what was called a crash course. In other words, I did it in 4 weeks instead of 7 or 8 weeks. Had a blast. I did learn some things that I didn't know before. And Lloyd got to find out what kind of a student I was in numerology. And this allowed us to forge a great camaraderie for years to come. When I had completed, before I completed those 4 weeks, Lloyd kind of gave me a test and he says, okay, the test is I'm going to pull a file, a name, a date of birth from my file of clients, people that I know, and I want you to sit down and do me a quick report. And then, of course, I'm going to read it and have you explain it. Well, I did pretty good because Lloyd taught the Pythagorean system, alphabet system, and he taught the Chaldean system. And I had them both down pat. I had them both down by memory. And the reason for that was I had been studying the Chaldean numerological value system. I had already been studying it long before I met him. So I was familiar with it. And he suggested a book. And lo and behold, I had the book in my bag. It was Kiro's Book of Numbers, which gives the Chaldean meanings, which are also connected to the 22 major arcana cards of the tarot. So I was already there. Anyway, I seemed to pass with flying colors. He went over before I didn't even leave the store. I like that store so much. I was there at 10 o'clock when it opened, about 10 a.m., 10:30, and our class was at 11 o'clock to about 12:30, sometimes 1 o'clock. And now that wasn't me in the group class. That was a one-on-one class with myself and Lloyd. And I ate up that time, man. I loved the numerology. And I would hang out now. And I was from Long Island. So I was hanging out at the old Tree of Life bookstore, sometimes up to 5 o'clock, sometimes up to 6. They didn't close until 10 o'clock at night. And I got to know a lot of good people in there. I met Dr. John E. Moore, who was called the hobo herbologist. And that's when I learned that hobos wasn't nothing bad. Hobos were people who lived off the land and lived naturally. In other words, they know the fruits, nuts, seeds, and root vegetables and leafy vegetables that were healthy for the body. I met Dr. Sebi in there. I met Aries Latham, who's now living in Panama and down in Jamaica, who has his own institute, Raw Food Institute, Sun-Fried Foods, which he had back then as a store. I remember him selling out, being the top seller of food at the New York Whole Life Expo and or New York Life Expo and the Whole Life Expo. I went to those things all the time. They were having 2 and 3, 4 times a year, both of them. And he would be there with his team of students and he'd sell out by 3 p.m. Sunday. He didn't have any food left on a Friday night, and they worked them all day Saturday and part of Sunday. Met a lot of people there. Queen Afua, I think she was teaching some yoga principles back then in the old Tree of Life bookstore. Phil Valentine, he was another person that was back then. We were all just there. Literally, they were there ahead of me, but for me, it was brand new. So Lloyd put me in the driver's seat through Vashon McGee, known as Kanye, to teach the beginner's level of numerology. So starting that school year, in 1979, we set it up for the early winter and spring. I began to teach beginner's numerology. Lloyd taught intermediate and advanced numerology. And they went so well that we did 8 weeks, and then we started in the spring, and then we jumped into the summer. Well, I can tell you by the time the summer hit, which was my second time around now teaching 8 weeks, I had the third largest class. Now, there was another brother by the name of John Harris, Jon Harris. He was an astrologer. I could see his face now. Fair complexion brother, low cut hair. He and his wife taught through there. He was an astrologer and a very deft astrologer. And he had always, behind Dr. Moore, he had the biggest class going. Behind him was Lloyd. Lloyd had a large class, and behind them two were me. As I understood what I was teaching and I was passionate about it. And what I mean large classes. Well, when Dr. Moore taught his herbology class on a Wednesday night, his class was going from 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock all the way up until 10 o'clock at night. And he had people in there from CCNY system, the community college system of New York City, which was pre-med students from Hunter College, NYU, Columbia University, in the Bronx, Fordham, and Pace. They would converge and made it their business to be there on a Wednesday night to learn this herbology from the late Dr. John E. Moore. And he got that honorary doctorate title, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong, but John E. Moore, he was a Capricorn. He got it, born in the month of January. He got that honorary doctorate degree because he used to travel. He used to have people, as well as Kanya, but he had other students up close with him, and they would drive him to some of those HBCU colleges where the black student, associations, whatever we wanted to call them, they would have their weekend events, and he was down there teaching herbology. He got it from, I believe, Temple University in Philadelphia. So the student unions, Asiatic student unions, would have him come on down for a weekend, and he would teach them all about herbs. He could walk them all over the campus and identify wild edible herbs and poisonous ones as well. He did a lot of it that way in New Jersey. I went on an outing at one point, 2 bus loads. The buses had 50, 60 people on the bus. I remember leaving, it was on a Saturday during the summer. Humidity must have been 100 degrees. It must have been 90, 98 degrees out. We went to Wyckoff, New Jersey, which is a big park, right? And everybody's there. Every kind of nationality is in there with their families. But all of us who were teaching at the Tree of Life bookstore were on these buses, and many people on the bus were the people who wanted to get these teachings. So it was like a big gathering, right? I remember Dr. Moore had us eating eggless potato salad, and it was delicious. He talked about, seed fruits, and that if the fruit didn't have any seed, it was a hybrid. So, and I wasn't even into health consciousness eating back then. It was the furthest thing from my mind. But I started to learn about herbs in increments. I remember we took a walk and he was identifying different plants, even the poisonous plants. He identified a wild plant that you could smoke, just like weed, just like marijuana, and it would get rid of a headache. But since we were out in a state-run park. He didn't want anybody tearing anything up, but he could take a little off, show you. He had people with the plastic bags that had labels, so you could see these things. And I remember in the group, we were walking through this part of the forest. It must have been at least about 25 of us walking. And he's identifying all the trees and plants and telling you what they could be used for. And a woman got stung by a wasp or yellow jacket. And her son and daughter was walking with her. And they said, yeah, she's allergic. So he took his knapsack thing that he had that kind of laid her down on the dirt road, which is more like the pavement because people could ride bikes. I think there was a couple of benches, maybe later on a bench. And he asked his students, he could identify trees and leaves and shrub. He told them what to do. He took a little bottle of water and he took some dirt, sift through the dirt, make sure there was no mites or anything, ants, sift through, made a little paste with the mud, put that on the person's arm. She got stung on her arm. Soon as it dried, he had something else mixed with it, and don't remember what it was. Soon as it was dry, he was able, with a pair of tweezers, fine tweezers, squeeze the skin up on the arm and carefully pull out the stinger. Now, this was back in 1979, summer of 79, that he was doing this. He had the son and daughter carefully walk her back into the area where everybody was having a good time, and he told her to lay her on the ground and out of the sun a little bit so she could relax, because she had some medication to take, didn't want to take a chance with that, laid her down. By the time we got back on that 1 hour and 40-minute walk, the lady was sitting up at the picnic table. Eyes were clear. The puffiness went down out of her face and arm. She was all right. Now, the reason I say that, because this was a potent time in the late 70s where people were applying their expertise. So I'm just letting you know that astronumerologist Lloyd Strahorn is no joke. And I don't like to brag on myself, so I'm going to let him talk about me. Not today, but this Wednesday. We were supposed to do this tomorrow, but he switched the date because he wanted to use a Mercury rule day, which was Wednesdays, for communication, and to have his first guests appear on a Wednesday evening. So you want to come to Facebook's page called Live with Lloyd. Lloyd, Live with Lloyd, here on Facebook. That's his page. He has two pages. That's one page. His other page is Learn Numerology with Lloyd. And you can be in both one of those, but you want to be Live with Lloyd at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. for me, Mountain Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And what's going to happen, we're going to give our insights on numerology. He has a way of doing it, and I've learned basic things from him, but I have my way of doing it also. So we're going to talk about different things. And since he gets people's date of birth, they pop them up in the screen. He's going to give them to me, or I will see that, and I will be able to, boom, give the person my analysis, my take on how I deal with numerology. I've been doing numerology now since 1974. That's 47 years. I've done over 40,000 numerology reports in different ways, meaning I worked on just first names alone, first and last names, first, middle, and last name, just the date of birth alone. Now, one of the things about numerology is we don't, like an astrologer, we don't need your time. We don't need your time. We don't need latitude or longitude. One of the things you'll learn about numerology, and I always tell my students, I coined a phrase back in the early 80s too. And my phrase for numerology was that numerology is the shorthand of astrology. Numerology is the shorthand of astrology. That's because somewhere down the line, people have paired numbers with astrological ruling planets and their sun signs. And so there's a lot of connections. Numerology is a system. Numerology based on system, meaning based on a certain network, a certain amount of principles that allow you to gain a character analysis of a person through their date of birth and their name. It is a part of what is called the mantic arts, meaning you can develop a certain level of seership, which is seership, which means you gain a certain faculty within yourself that gives you the power to divine a name or date of birth, just based on what you know about the numbers. But I always tell my students, you do not have to be a psychic person. Just like if you an astrologer would tell you you don't have to have intuitive ability in order to do astrology. You just have to know what the daggone ruling sign planets mean, the star that it rules, the sun sign. You have to know house, the 12 houses, what they mean, because all of those mean something. You have to know about the elements of the signs. As a numerologist, we look at the element of a number that represents a sign by the planet that it rules. So we go into a lot of different aspects, and we don't have to know your time of birth or longitude and latitude per se. You don't have to know that. And when I often have done charts, people say, oh, I'm born at such and such a time. I go, whoa, 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 you don't have to give me that. But when they do give me it, though, I do take in the numbers. So if someone told me that they were born at night, 11:59 p.m. at night, or 11:57 p.m. at night, of course I'm going to look at the numbers. 11 to the left of the semicolon, and then the two other numbers to the right of the semicolon. But what I'm looking at it in different ways. What's to the left could be the element of water, and what's to the right could be the element of earth. Or the first number to the left, when we write it out, 11, we write 1 1. The first one is a fire pole, the second one is an air pole. And then on the other side, the next number is a water pole, and the next one is an earth pole. So those four elements are there by numbers. And then, of course, I would add it all together. So if let's say a person was born 11:58 p.m., I wouldn't I don't look at the day yet or time, but I could, right? Because that's a part of the system or the studying of numerology. But I will say, okay, 11, they're born within the 11 master number series of the time. That's dreams and visions, symbolically. That's also the person holding in confidence secrets. But then I look at 58. 5 is communication. 1 is independent qualities. 5 is communication. 5 is freedom, represents Mercury. But the 11 represents 11th house, house of friends, 11th sign, Aquarius. You see, so I have different ways to add those in, but those wouldn't be the most important thing. And then the 8 is a Capricorn influence, Saturn. 5 is Mercury ruling Virgo and Gemini. So I can see all these little qualities, but they're not the most important one. The time, that's the time of not of conception, but at the time of birth, when the child decides to arrive down the vaginal channel, out of the uterus of the woman's body into the waiting hands of the doctors and nurses, or back in the day of midwives. So these numbers mean something, of course, and they have a certain impact on the nature of the person. But if we could count back to the time of conception, you know what I'm getting ready to say. Not only are you having this sun sign, but you have a solar sun sign dealing with your time of conception. So it's like you got two birthdays, two birthdays. And if most of us are born in the ninth month, right? Born in the ninth month, third trimester, ninth month. If we count back from your sun sign, you can find out when you were conceived. I know I'm Pisces, the middle of the month, going toward almost the end of the sign. However, in other words, I'm born in the last 10 degrees of the sign, Pisces. Counting back 9 full months, I could find out that maybe I was conceived under the sign of Cancer. So I'm a water person, conceived in water, sun sign, and arrived on the planet fully matured body, boy, baby boy, under the sign of Pisces. So there's some interesting qualities. I'm going to have to get together with some astrologers that I know to see if they have a concept about that. Because we're not just this sign that we come under. And they will tell you they can progress your sun according to your current age, and they can discover what sign that you're acting or thinking more like. Now, I'm Pisces, but I act more like a little bit of Taurus. I'm more concerned about material things now. Before, I could care less. Money would come and go. Now I'm like, where's the money? So I say this to say that we're going to talk about a lot of things this Wednesday of this week. Lloyd and I get together, and Lloyd interviewed me 39 years ago. I was his first guest when he worked for WLIB 1190 AM radio in New York City, in Manhattan. I was his very first guest on his program called Numbers in You. So for him to handpick me again to be his first guest again, it's an honor for me to have this opportunity to be on his show. So be sure to tune in 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 Central, 5 Mountain, 4 p.m. Pacific this Wednesday evening on August the 25th, 2021. Now, it's very interesting because Lloyd initially chose tomorrow night, and I was scheduled to teach my intensive online training program called the 5-Point Creative Pathwork System. I was scheduled to have that class, that course, jump off this Wednesday, but have to table it for now. I didn't have any people actually sign up. I have a couple of people still, up in the air if they wanted to take it or not, but they still can. They can take it with me privately, not in group format. So Lloyd didn't know that. 2 weeks ago, Lloyd said, "Hey, I'm gonna have Brother Francis Revels-Bey on as my first guest on Monday, August the 23rd." And I just happened to tune into the show when he said it. And now, last week on a Wednesday, I just so happened to, I need to watch his show. Go on. He was going to let me know after the show, but he announced it to his audience that he would make me his first guest. And he switched the date from tomorrow night of this week into Wednesday night. and I just happened to pull up, right, and see him announce it. So yeah, we're gonna have some fun. It's gonna be insightful time talking about numerology and the way we both view numerology, and in tandem with team teaching and team reading people's dates of birth. One of the things I can tell you too about when you're studying astrology, numerology, and he's an excellent palmist, palm reader. He had maintained his study of reading palms. Lloyd is excellent with that. I have an interest in palms. I should have just kept with it. I got an interest, revived interest in reading with candle flames now, since being connected to my spiritual sister Michelle Vidal's a metaphysical esoteric school. So on Spirit Circle, every second and fourth Saturday, she goes through some classes, and I get a chance for me to formally get back in touch with reading with a crystal ball and a candle flame. Candle flame, boom, the electricity is fast. Really feel it fast. But hey, I got revised my gift of the crystal ball, and I got a grapefruit size one sitting in my bedroom that I pull out every now and then. So I just wanted to announce that you want to tune in and don't miss when you see the both of us get online at the same time and give our insights on numerology. Lloyd has been doing numerology ever since a long time. He's been out there. And because he's been out there, and I've been out there too, we've done street festivals in New York City, all in Brooklyn and Queens. Through Lloyd, I had a chance to, after being a guest for 24 appearances on WLIB from 1982 to 1989. Time went by, a long time went by. He had a cable show. I think I was a guest on his cable show. I was a guest on somebody's show in Woodstock, New York after that, which was more like radio. I had a chance to meet, never was on his show, the late Morris Fonte. Got a chance to meet him. And no, in fact, I was on. His was a New York City, Manhattan cable, lower downtown, mid Manhattan. And yes, I was on Morris Fonte's. He's not around anymore. Um, Kind of reminds me of a little short guy about the size of Danny DeVito, the actor. But I was on his show twice, and he always had me come on in the month of January. So I was on his show in January of 1989, and a little earlier back, I think also in 85 on a Sunday night. So yeah, I was on his show. I was on someone else's satellite show that used to broadcast out of the Empire State Building way up there on the top floor. And we used to do that on a Saturday. Never really liked that one too much because I had to ride that elevator. And when you're riding the elevator in the Empire State Building, you take it from the first floor up to floor number 50. And then you come out of the elevator and get into the next one and ride it from 51 all the way up to the top. So we were somewhere around the top of the Empire State Building every Saturday for about, I had to do it like 11 a.m. in the morning to about 1, 2 p.m. It was about three or four of us up there. That was something. And then to ride it back down, I never felt too well. Couldn't wait to get on the first floor, ground floor. Always felt a little dizzy. Anyway, I want to tell you all, please get this book. It's on Amazon. Hopefully by September, October, I'll have a set of all my books here in my residence, and you'll be able to purchase the books from me as well. This is Decree and it shall be. It took a long time. Now, it's a thin book, 66 pages with 10 chapters. It took a long time to get this book done. This book was based on a program, live video streaming segment of a show that I did called Circle of Grace One, the Circle of Divine Grace and Remembrance, which was a live video streaming program in 2008 on the system called Livestream, which used to be called Mogulus out of Manhattan. And I was living in Newark, New Jersey then, and I was doing the shows, and then I moved into Patterson. I was still doing these online live video streaming shows, and I would come on the first Sunday. I would come on in the morning and then in the evening, and then I started doing it like every week. I would do every Sunday, go on about 11 a.m. for about an hour and a half, and I would come back on that Sunday night at 7 p.m. And in the course of that, someone said to me, "Decree and it shall be." That's a powerful title, a powerful segment. And I was teaching people. This is back in 2009. I was teaching people back then how to write an affirmation, how to set out a prayer, to understand a prayer and how to utilize it, how to put an affirmation together with prayer, which is called affirmative prayer, to do spiritual treatment, and utilizing meditations, guided meditations, and decrees. And eventually people began to ask me, would I, for a fee, write them an affirmation? So I started putting out on CD audios a set of affirmations, a set of affirmative prayers and decrees. And what would happen, somebody might ask me what they would like me to do, but most of the time I would do a meditation, again being a numerologist, understanding they appear in their analysis, and I would meditate on it, and it would come to me, and I would turn on my recorder, and I would begin to channel through affirmations for that man or woman. I only charge like $33, master number 33. So I would charge them for the CD, and the CD, has 88 minutes of time, right? So I would go on there and I'd give them affirmations, and I would teach basically what the affirmation was about and how I received that information. Then what I would do, I would go along to the decree, or let's say the affirmative prayer, then the decree. And I would catch such a strong frequency of energy that I could give them 4 or 5 affirmations, switch them into an affirmative prayer, teach them the affirmative prayer, then go and pull out the additional keys, which were decrees. And by the time 60, 70 minutes have gone by, that person would have a power packed, verbally activated words that work with them. And within that, because of the energy was so intense, I would begin to envision seeing things happening in their life, and I was able to speak to those things for that person that could assist them to having a greater understanding so that their life would be clearer, so that they would understand their purpose, their destiny, try to understand what direction does that person need to go through. And this became a habit because I was doing this like every 6 weeks, every 8 weeks for clients where they were getting this information. Now, you got 52 weeks out of the year. So I was wound up doing 4 or 5 of these things, CDs, audios with this information on a disc for my clients. Word got out to some other people in some other metaphysical, spiritual, religious communities, and someone emailed me or said in the chat room, said, "Hey, why don't you make this a separate program?" So not only was I teaching twice on a Sunday, I was teaching once during the week on a Wednesday night. Decree and it shall be. And that began in June of 2009. I began doing that. And it became a popular show. And I was doing a little bit of numerology and dream analysis I would be talking about. And I remember that same year, toward the end of the year, the day before New Year's Eve on 2009, someone had asked me, would I read people? I said, okay, I can read a few people. Well, at the time when I was doing it, you'd see on the screen at the bottom, the number to the left was me, /, and the numbers to the right would be the audience. Well, on that particular night, which was December 30th, 2009, I began to do that. And I felt like I was in a groove. Now, I'm not bragging or anything about this, but this is how it felt. I felt very warm, like my back was on fire. And I knew that the chi was rising up and down my back, not in my spine, but on top, underneath the surface of the skin, going up and down, and crescending like fireworks off the top of my head. And I started to sweat. And I said, "This is a sign." So I said to the audience, I says, "Tell your neighbors next door. I don't care if you live on a house, a street, an apartment building, or some friends. They could be at work or they could be at some social gatherings. Tell them to come online. Give them this IP address. Have them come online now because I feel like I'm going to release a lot of information to people." And it started to happen. I started to release a lot of good information to people. And for people, they said it was accurate for them. And I was saying, wow, you know, somebody got this information. Hi there, Vernita, how you doing? Somebody got this information and they were sharing it with everybody else. They were sharing this information with everybody else. And I got excited. Again, I didn't get egotistical about it. I just jumped into my head and I said, oh my gosh, people are coming on. So within 30 minutes of me being on, I went from 2 or 3 people watching. In 30 minutes, it jumped up to about 20. In 30 minutes. Another 15 minutes. Now I'm still talking. Another 15 minutes went by, and now it was approaching 30. By the time I hit 45 minutes into my program, I was now reaching 40 some odd, 50 some odd people. And then I said, you know what? Just let it all happen. I could hear spirit talk to me. I said, yes. So I says, tell all your friends I want to read everybody as fast as I can. And I don't want anything for it, but you can send me a cash donation. And I told them how they could send me a cash donation through my PayPal. And I was on for 3 hours and I had pretty close to 7. Now, in this thing with live stream, you could carry up to 250 people. I had like 101, 102 people tuning in by the time I hit that 90-minute mark. I was exhausted, but I was excited. I was glad that I did it. So I'm saying that for a reason. If you can remember this week, Wednesday, August the 25th, 2021, on Facebook page, Live with Lloyd. I'm going to be his first guest, and we're going to talk about our insights about numbers and numerology. And I'm quite sure I'm going to be answering some questions. I remember watching Channel 13 back in New York. That's, public uh, PBS station, public broadcast system. And they did an expose documentary about an East Indian mathematician. And I can't remember the gentleman's name, but this guy had taught from the early 1900s, 1930s, 1940s. And he was already like in his 50s, but he retired right around 1960 or so. But this gentleman had said because he was always playing around with numerical formulas, always playing around with numerical formulas, he was able to trigger his intuitive nature. And he began to realize that the ability to work with numbers and the different formulas, different modes of operation, that he became more intuitive. And he said, this is something that happens when men and women, mathematicians, are figuring out formulas. And these formulas could connect you to solving a problem that everybody is seeking to solve. And in the course of his studies of mathematics and different formulas, and I was never good at math. I became better at math when I took a class in logic and sets during the summer of 1974 at Nassau Community College. But I had learned because I had graduated from high school, waiting to go to Nassau Community College, then got a chance to go upstate to Bard College. And that's why I spent 4 years as an art major. But I remember I was terrible. I was terrified of calculus. I mean, I was just good enough with adding, subtracting, dividing, and multiplication, the four pillars of math. I was happy. But you had to take me into doing calculus and trigonometry. I was lost. But I remember having a math teacher, and I believe his last name was Thomas. I can see his face now, European guy with receding hair going all the way back to here. Kind of remind me of Poindexter, the cartoon character. And but he was good at explaining to me what algebra was, explaining to me about logic and sets, and that just the letters were just symbols for the numbers. It gave him a lot more room to work with instead of just thinking about your numbers 1 through 9 or numbers going up into the millionths, right? So he got me to feel a lot comfortable. Then, when I started understanding that I could figure out the mode of operation from a theoretical statement, they give you 1, 2, and 3, nothing in the middle, and then they tell you at the bottom with the 3 dots like a triangle. Therefore, this statement you're writing out in numbers must be the truth of what your premises is, and your premises is stated 1, 2, and 3. So I realized then that, hey, there's something to math. And I didn't have to know trigonometry, and I didn't have to know calculus, unless I was going to be a biochemist or a physicist or earth scientist or just a chemist. I didn't have to know all of that. I just needed to know how these numbers were speaking. until this day, when I do a chart for somebody, numbers are speaking to me. Numbers are speaking to numbers speak to us in different forms. That's why there's so many people out there. I'm not one of them. Many people out there that can get into this thing called Bitcoins and they can understand how that works. Prior to that, it was just dealing with gold and silver. Prior to that, it was dealing with promissory notes. Prior to that, it was dealing with precious metals. But you have to have a natural mindset for it. If you have a natural mindset for it, you'll get it. I don't. Why? Because it doesn't play a part in here. And it definitely doesn't play a part in here. Now, if you want to talk about gemstones, that is selenite. I know that inside out. That plays a part in me. You want to talk about shungite, that plays a part in me. You want to talk about marble, obelisk, I understand how obelisk works and what an obelisk represents. That. Now, people might say, well, that's equivalent to this. Yeah, in a matter of correspondence, but in reality, they're still separate. So we have to find those parts that work. And I always tell people when I teach them numerology, and I am working on a numerology book. Mr. Lloyd Strahorn is working on the forward for the book. I have about 13 chapters, I believe, in my numerology book. I already have the international standard book number for it, the 10-digit and the 13-digit number. The book will be called The Key to Life is Numerology, and the subtitle is The Study of Your Name and Birth Date Through Numbers. That's going to be the subtitle. It's going to be bad mamma jamma because the cover is an off-white with gold lines running through it, and it's supposed to look like marble. Just like this one gives you the feeling of like leather. So doing that because I want to put forth a certain seed into our subconscious and into our conscious self, into and through the gateways called our chakras. So I want to put that in place. And I'm working on it. I'm working on the numbers 0 through 9 right now. And when that's completed, then I'm going to work on the birthday numbers 1 through 31. Now, I have a concept about that. I'm going to give you a hint. Here's a hint. Because I have a chapter later on in the book, and it's called Numbers, Numerology, or it's called Numerology and the 12 Petals. Each astrological sign is a petal, Petal. But have you noticed that there are 5 months that have 30 days, right? 4 to 5 months that have just 1 through 30. Then we notice that on a leap year, every 4 years, the month of February, which only has 28 days, has an additional day. That's the way that's set up. Then your other months have 31 days, 7 other months. So what does that say? Well, 12 months are carrying the single digit 1 and so forth. I don't want to give it away too much because you can really get, it becomes mind-boggling. 12 months, there are 12 months sharing, 7 months sharing 30 days and 31 days. 5 months or 4 months that are sharing just 30 days. 1 month that's only has 28, and every 4 years it gets an additional day, and it's 29. There's a lot of different formulas, a lot of different things going on where the mind works. Now, here's another thing. if we were dealing with just the lunar cycle alone, not the solar cycle, the lunar cycle alone, that's 28 days. It's 14 days from a new moon to the height of a full moon, which they call what? The waxing stage, the building up of energy. And then there's the depleting or the waning cycle, which is coming through the highest height of a full moon, and now you've gone down into the valley. Another 14 days. So, in reality, using the moon, there's only 28 days. Only 28 days. And 28, let me get my little calculation out. 28 days, right? I should have a calculator. 28 days. So you got 12 months of 28 days. And how many total days is that? That's 236. 236 days. Using numerology, we got the number 23 and the number 6, or the 3-digit root compound number, which is 200. That has a whole nother meaning to itself. I don't even think I have that in my book. I don't have what the numbers 100 through 900 mean, but I do have what the numbers 10 through 90 mean, and I do have the master numbers double zeros up to double 99. Well, if we add this 236, 5, 2 and 3 is 5, and 6 is 11. So that's based on the 11, a master number 11 scale, reducing to the number 2, which is a lunar number, the moon. And even the word month, month, is connected to the moon. So each month is governed by the moon, not by the sun. That gives us 236 days if you're using the lunar cycles all the time, where the solar cycles are different. Solar cycles, like in astrology, 30 degrees per sign. That's the sun. Or is it? Being a numerologist, you might see it different. 3 is Jupiter. So you might say, well, that's Jupiter ruled then. Because Jupiter deals with expansion and benefactors and good fortune. Or 3 is symbolic of children. 2 is symbolic of parents. 1 is symbolic when the two to come together as one, creating the 3. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. There are a lot of things going on. But I always tell my students of numerology, it's a matter of preference if you want to use the modern Pythagorean system of numerology or you want to do the Chaldean system of numerology. That means the alphabet, which I have right here. True shaman, I got tons of stuff in my place. I always try to show this, and for people that were on TikTok and away, let's see. The top one I love to use, which is the Chaldean, but it's easier to teach the Pythagorean. And people always say, "Oh well, Pythagorean, he's the father of mathematics." Well, maybe with Greece, but all the people traveled to Alexandria in Egypt, which sits in Africa. Akibulan, right? Sits there to sit at the foot of the masters. So Africa is the place where everybody went to get the information from the masters. The master men and women that had this information for eons. So I'm not going to talk about that either. I'm just going to stick with numerology in my book. And I give both charts. The Pythagorean, I show you the 26 letters with the values of the numbers, just like on that chart, but a little bit more organized. I pick a couple of names, a couple of cities, a couple of countries, and I show you what they are under the Pythagorean method of numerology, and then show them again under the Chaldean system of numerology. So in the book, the key to life is numerology. I'm going to do my best to keep it simple so that I'm not overwhelming you with information, but showing you things. I'm going to talk about the cycles of destiny. I'm going to talk about the angle of destiny, which is something that I have, just like Brother Lloyd Strahorn when he was being first an astrologer, then getting into numerology and then combining the two together. Um, he came up with a concept called birth key numbers. And through the power of birth key numbers, he could tell you, especially where there are families of one or two children or more, he could tell you which child is connected to the mother or the father and therefore has the traits of the mother and the father. Very unique pattern. And he had that way back then in the 70s, early 70s. So I'm going to talk about mine being the numerology, being the shorthand of astrology. And I have something there based on when you're looking at the destiny, which is called the life path number, and the birthday number itself, the calendar day number, which gives off your natural traits, personality traits, and characteristics. And people often used to ask, well, which one am I? Am I the destiny number or am I the birthday number? And the answer to that is no, you're the birthday number. So, example, if you're born June the 7th, 1951, if you're born June the 7th, 1951. And this is significant because when people do numerology, and I have to tell, I state it on TikTok all the time. When people go on there, they always say, oh, I'm born in 51. I say 1851, 1751, 1651, or 015. They go, what? I say, you can't leave out the two constant numbers that make up the year. So if you're born in 2000, you can't leave off the 20 and assume that you're going to have an accurate analysis. Now, it's a matter of preference. You can do that if you want. But if you're trying to draw a map of a person's life, you can't clip off the two digits to the left. You can't clip off the 19 nor the 20. The 19 or the 20, if it's their birth year, that is a constant number. It's a grounding number. So the person born in 1951, I can't say I'm going to add 6 to 7 to 51 because they won't get a true reading. Some people do that because they're trying to pull out the master number 11, 22, or 33. No. They're trying to force a master number to be there and it's not there. So when we add this, you've got the units column, 6 over 7 over 1. The column to the left of that is the tens column, right? Which is where the 5 falls. Then to the left of that, you got the hundreds column where the 9 falls. And then to that, you've got the 1000th unit column, which is where the 1 is. So it's 1, 9, 7 above the 1, 6 above the 7. So what is that? If you add those three numbers, 6, 7, and 1 together, you're going to get 13, which is 14. You add that to the 5, you're going to 64, and the 19 remains the same. So the person's life path number for born 6, 7, 1951 is 1964. Now, I sometimes would call that the destiny year. Okay, I call that the destiny year, 1964. That's when the person first has an inkling about the life path number, which is called the destiny number. Both work, both terms. So it's 1964. 64 is a 10, 19 is a 10. 10 plus 10 gives you 20, which is sort of like a Pluto number, which is the higher octave to Mars. So Pluto is the number of transformation. What is that person coming to do? 2 plus 0 is 2. They have the gift of partnership. They're coming here to learn how to balance their lives through all forms of partnerships, be it a romantic partnership, a marital partnership, a business relationship, dealing in your neighborhood with your next door neighbors. The gift of partnership. How are you getting along with other people outside or beyond yourself? In your family, your cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents, great grandparents, distant cousins, your neighborhood, next door neighbor, you go to school, your peers in school or career. How are you getting along? Now, the nature of the two, if you are born on a 2 or a 20 or 11 or a 29th, then you naturally have the ability to get along with other people. And more than likely, not only do you have the gift of partnership, but you are pretty much like an ambassador. You're a mediator. You're the person that can negotiate contracts. That's what like union reps. They represent everybody in the carpenters union, the electricians union, you name it. Right? They go what? They go with their attorneys and they negotiate your contract for the next year or the next 2 years with your benefits and all that with the company. So that's what a two does. A two is a negotiator, knows how to bring different members of the team together to work together as a team. That's 1964, which is a 20/2. Now, people might add it another way. They might go 1 and 9 is 10, or they might go this way. Yeah, 1 and 9 is 10, and then add that to 64, and they would get 74. And then 74 would give you the 11, which is a 2. So in that case, the master number 11 is hidden in the destiny year. It's not outstanding, it's hidden because you're going from you are adding the 19 to the 10. That's what you to the 64 rather. Or you can go the other way. You can go 64 plus 19. So 64 or 19 plus 64, however you want to do it. And what you're going to get is the number 83. Now you will find the destiny number. When you break it down, the destiny number is sitting there. So if I was doing this, I would see like the 11 being there, and I would say 20/11/2 or 20/11/2. I would write it somewhat like that, you see. I would find it. But again, I've been doing this a long time, so I tell all my students it's a matter of preference. Don't look for the master number at first. Look to get the number broken down to a single digit. Then let yourself find the strongest compound number. Now, 64 and 19, or 19 and 64, produce the number 83, which is the master number 11/2. But we said, I didn't say 83, I said 83. Two numbers. I said 80, then 3. The word number 80, which is a root compound number, has to do with wisdom, eldership. Symbolically, when we get into our 80s, from 80 to 89, if you get to live that long, you are definitely in the eldership. You're in the eldership once you get into those 60s, but you still have a lot of fire in your 60s. In your 70s is when you're trying to tone it down a little bit. You still have the fire of the 60s, but the 70s is where you got the fire of the mind. The 60s, tens or single digits into 60s is when you still got a lot of energy. 70s is when you start to contemplate the energy that you've accumulated, and the 80s is when you become the elder of all of that. And if you get into the 90s, you're a whole nother warrior because you got all of those decades. And a generation is looked at as usually about 20 to 30 years. Uh, 20 years is about a generation. So if a person got into their 90s, that's four generations plus something, right? Four times 20 is 80 plus kicking in a whole nother cycle. So imagine people who get to be in their hundreds. They really get to tell you a whole lot of things about life. That's when we get to hear grandparents in their 80s and in their 90s tell you, child, don't worry about what man says. I done lived to see. I have lived to see a whole nother range, a whole nother side of quote unquote man and how man treats himself or how people treat each other. I've grown through and seen so many fashions, how people dress, kind of art, kind of music, kind of dance. You get to be that old, you can talk about those things because you lived through them. That's why when we looked at those people who were children who survived the Tulsa race riots, and to know that they were just 6, 7, 8 years of age, and now here they are in their, whew, gosh, they were born in the 1900s during the teens, right? That kicked off at 21, and here they were 3, 4, 5 years of age, surviving all of that and still there, or maybe living in other parts of the country. But if they're still there in Tulsa, they got history to talk about. To be able to see those people, it was heartbreaking. But I said, those are warriors, and they're still on the planet. So we have to admire when we have elders reach their 70s, reach their 80s, reach their 90s, and still have a sharp mind. The body might be frail, but the mind is sharp. But hey, I'm seeing all over the planet where there are some people who have their health intact, who started studying yoga and started working out in their 50s, and they maintained it with their trainers. And now they look young, and their skins are radiant, and their minds are equally very radiant. So we get to see how people have survived and how they're able to live. So when we get into the 70s, we get into the 80s, we get into the 90s, each registration, each level is a brand new level of activity on the planet. Heck, I'm 69 now and I'll be 70 next March. And I've got 5 books. By that time, I want to have 6 and 7 books I've written. I want to have that many books out there so that I could share that knowledge with the little ones on the planet and my family, where they can say, hey, Uncle Frank, you got books. Maybe I'll do more artwork or something, and I'll have artwork going so they could see that as well. Who knows? Anything is possible, right? Anything and everything is possible. We can see things that are truly happening on the planet, and it's a great thing to see all of this opportunity exist. So it's amazing. Everything is happening for a reason. Everything is happening right now, and it's just a golden opportunity to see so much that's happening, and we're a part of it. We're a part of so much stuff. So, this is just a wonderful time. I realize I got a lot of things going on here, and I didn't click myself and set myself up correctly. Let's see. Hold on, everybody. I can still see myself on the screen moving around. I should have set this up before. I'm just learning how to do these broadcasts live. Those of you that are in the chat there, if you want to ask a question, you can ask me any question. We can talk about dreams and whatever. I just realized I could have had set uh, my YouTube live channel to be going live, but I'm already in here live on some level. So bear with me. I just want to see if I can pick this up in here while I'm still going strong. I don't have to start anything. Let's see. Okay, this already has this at 3:40, and I think I started around. Let's see. I had already been in here. I don't know if it'll let me jump back. So I'm gonna put myself in here at 3:40. Just let's see what happens. I didn't initially set this up as I was supposed to already have it going. So I'm actually in here doing two different things. What were you listening to? You gotta understand. Okay. Everybody's broadcasting live here. My friend Dr. Asaf Womack is in here. So let's see if I could click myself on through. Okay, just bear with me. See if I can click him out. But anyway, there he is. Click. Okay. I'm having a rough time clicking him out. Let's try this again. Okay. So somewhere I'm in the system live. Let me click the bell. Okay. So somewhere I'm in here. I don't know how about am I going strong, but I am probably in YouTube. It shows that I have one or two people popping through. So I'm gonna kind of pop in and out. And if I get off of if I get off of Facebook, I'm in YouTube going live at the same time. Well, anyway, let me flip back over. What did you miss? Um, well, you didn't miss anything. I'm just talking about the fact that I'm going to be on live with my good friend Lloyd Strahorn this Wednesday, which is August the 25th of 2021 at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook Live with Lloyd. So I'm going to be his first guest. We're going to talk about our insights about numerology. And we're going to keep it revolving around numerology. And I'm going to also talk about my books that I've written, which I have about 5 books on Amazon.com. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And I was just mentioning earlier of the different concepts or ways of looking at numbers, or how we could use numbers and then use numbers to look at things. As a numerologist, you can be one who's an observer using a system of numerology to help you pull information up, whether it's a personality trait of a person, or how. And Lloyd's an astronumerologist, meaning he's an astrologer first who got into numerology. Me, I was never an astrologer. I was just a person that was attracted to numbers and how those numbers help me to kind of see what a person is like. And the interesting fact that I've taught a lot of people is that we're not going to have all the answers. So play with the numbers. You can develop your own systems with numbers. Like to me, growing up in this, I said that numerology is the shorthand of astrology. Each of the 9 numbers, 1 through 9, symbolically represent a ruling planet that rules a specific sun sign. And so it's like the shorthand. You kind of get an idea about that, and each number has a distinctive trait, plus or negative, or weak trait and strong trait, and how you can use that, play it all the way out through numbers. So that's what I was talking about. And I really didn't even mean to come on. I'm just long-winded sometimes. I didn't wasn't supposed to be on here for an hour. I just figured out how to also put myself up live on YouTube, but apparently I didn't click on my YouTube channel like I was supposed to. I just just did it now. So I'm live on YouTube at the same time. I don't think I've gone live on YouTube. I think the last time I went live on YouTube was a long time ago, several years ago. So all this is in its own way brand new for me. Still learning, still trying to get things straight, still trying to understand. So hopefully I'll have all of this a little bit better under control so that I even know what I'm doing. All of this is still new. Kind of see myself like a dinosaur trying to operate in these different capacities. Oh, thank you. 9/11, 1988. Woo, that's powerful, Black Feather. Well, first of all, you're born in the ninth month on the 11th day. Now, you have a master number. Sometimes people try to find the master numbers by adding all the digits up and try to find it that way. Well, let me add them up vertically just to see if you do have it in there another way. But we know you have it as a birthday calendar number. So I'm going to make sure I get this right. And this is going to be unique. Wow. Okay, now it doesn't show up in your destiny number, but you do have the 11th that you're born on. So when I look at that 11 tells me that you do carry a very strong, vibrant personality. The number 11, since that's a master number, you are someone that can unlock secrets. You are the kind of person that sometimes people will confide in you. They will come to you, Black Feather, and say, hey, don't tell anybody this. Could you keep this to yourself? And then they start to whisper to you to give you some information in confidence, which mainly means they got a secret about something or someone, and they kind of want you to share in that secret with them. They don't want to be the only one holding on to it. Then it would be up to you to be able to not divulge, quote unquote, the secret. The nature of the 11 also tells me that you have a strong interest in deciphering dreams. And also, your gut instinct is very strong as well. So you might go by, even though you're born under the sign of Virgo, but the sign of Virgo is a mutable earth sign, which means you can adapt to people's personalities. You can adapt to environments that you find yourself in, whether you're working or living or just going out socializing. You have the ability to make adjustments as the day goes on or as an opportunity presents itself to you. You know how to like fit in. Even if you felt uncomfortable, you could still fit in. You find your zone, so to speak, and then you work from that zone. Or you already come, just say like you're at a gathering, social gathering, and you sit back and you survey the whole room. While you're doing that, you're sizing up people, personalities, the energy of a room, what's going on inside that room, like how other people are getting along, or who's dominating a conversation or not dominating a conversation, who's a wallflower, who's laid back. That nature of the 11 in your astrological sign gives you that ability to do that. Your sign Virgo is an earth sign ruled by Mercury, which has been placed with the number 5. So you're able to communicate your ideas swiftly to other people. And you're very good at giving people the facts. You don't make up stuff. You do your research, and then based on your research and based on your observations and your ability to articulate your ideas well, You're able to interact well with other people. This has been, uh, quote unquote, a gift of yours, something that you do naturally. So now in the number 11, if I look at it, you got the 10 and the 1. So 1, 0, 10. You're like an original thinker. You got new ideas coming to you all the time, and you're very much an individual. So other people can't boss you around, can't tell you what to do. Now, if I was to take that master number 11, 1 plus 1, and reduce it to the single digit 2, that would tell me that you're pretty much like an ambassador. You are a negotiator. You are capable of going around and interacting with other people. You could see people have a debate, and you're like the referee. You could be right in the middle, and you could bring people together in each other and not be at each other. Now, you're born in 1988. Whenever I see the master number sitting at the end in the birth year like that, be it 11 or zero, double zeros going up all the way up to double 99s, that tells me that sometimes, this not may not necessarily be true. This is in general. People with double digits like this in the birth year, side by side, toward the end, half splitting at 19, you got 88. The 88 tells me you are possessing a lot of wisdom. 88 is 16, which is a 7. So you're very spiritually inclined. You like to get the message out as quick as you can, but you do take your time. But it's 1988. Okay? So that 1 and 9 is a 1, 88 is 16, which is now 16, 1 is 17, or basically 26. 10 and 16 is 26. So you are a person that carries a lot of emotional energy and a lot of creative energy. And you have a way of connecting with what other people are feeling, not with what just with what they're thinking, but what they're feeling at the same time. And you feel close to people when you engage in the emotional energy as well. You're very creative. You also have a connection to sometimes the family unit, or you'll get together with friends who feel like family to you. You know how people can go out there and say, okay, this is my friend. This man or woman is one of my best friends, but I'm more like a brother to them, or a brother and sister kind of connection to them. So that's some of the qualities that we see in your date of birth. And being that your destiny or life path number shows us the year 28, 2008. So what we're looking at here, when you hit 20, when you hit back then 20, right now you are what? 33. The age 33, like a master number, if I'm not mistaken. But when you hit 20, that was probably the beginning stage of you getting in touch with who you are as an individual. Because 2008 broke it down. That was 28, 28, 2 plus 8 is 10, and then 1. So you had to learn how to develop trust and faith in humanity, or trust and faith in other people. Trying to figure out who your friends are, and who you can trust to be in your circle, as opposed to other people you may not want in your circle. Okay. Now that you're 33, when you hit that coming up next month, at age 33, you're going to display even more of that. So in other words, your that 11 is going to be really, really strong. And you should pay attention to the kind of dreams that you have. That's going to be very important for the months coming up when you hit your age 33. So that's just a quick analysis. We always strive to, it's not a matter of, we have to be correct with our analysis, but we also want to feel the numbers. To me, when someone asks me to do a report or a chart, and it goes for a year, from, let's say, their birth month and birthday and the current year, all the way up until the day before they turn their next age. I always try to feel comfortable with the numbers. I always feel like the numbers are people energetically talking to me. And then I get a deeper feeling for what I want to say about the numbers for that person. So that's very, very important. Now, if I was to take that single digit that I got out of 2008, which is a one, and tie it into your birthday number 11, I get the number 12, which 1 plus 2 is 3. So, in order for you, as I would think, to learn your life path or destiny number, learning to be an independent, self sufficient person, the 3 tells me to tell you to do it in a creative way. Use the mind to get what you want. Be more creative about how you go about bringing opportunities to yourself, or if you find yourself already in an opportunity that you may have created for yourself, or someone put there for you to take advantage of, be creative with how you're going to make it work for yourself. You get bored very easily. So people who have a one destiny number, their purpose is to learn about themselves, how to become more independent of other people, but how to become a leader, how to bring the leadership abilities out. Now, that master number 11 says that you can do it. Also, for the first 29 or so years, 28, 29 years of your life on the planet, you were born in the ninth month in this particular calendar system. So the energy of the nine was learning how to be a warrior, spiritual warrior, how to stand up for yourself, how to fight for what you want. In other words, how to use your principles and how to use truth to get the things that you need in your life, whether it's new people, new job, new career, new location, how to make those things work for yourself. And just again, stand up for you. That's what you were learning to do. That was like the mini lesson of the first 28 years. But now your birthday took over around age 29, going up to age 56. So now the mini lesson is the 11. And that's again, don't let people set their garbage with you. Some people might say, well, I got some secrets and I want you to hold on to this secret with me. No, you might say, no, no, no. You hold on to that secret. I got enough to deal with. I'm not interested in controlling your life for you or knowing your personal business. So, the nature of 11, you just use your God given ability, which you can see into people, how you feel heart to heart, or you're connecting that way, and go forward in your life doing that. So that is a mini lesson in itself of being more independent, being more creative, following your dreams as well. That's also very important. You want to follow your dreams. You don't want to necessarily follow someone else's dreams, okay? Because that's going to be important for you. In other words, you're here to survive for you. And if you can survive for yourself, then you can turn around and help other people survive. So that's just a basic analysis. And that's the thing that I would be doing on Wednesday evening with Lloyd Strahorn on his Facebook Live page that's called Live with Lloyd. And he comes on every Monday and every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now he's usually on for about 30 minutes, but I've seen him take the show up to about 45 minutes to an hour. So since he wants me to be his first guest this Wednesday, um, I can imagine that we'll probably go an hour at least. So make sure you come on Facebook Live. Live, just type into the search box on Facebook, Live with Lloyd, and get that information out there. Stand online, take your seat, have a notepad, pencils, and we're going to talk numbers. And just like I did this little bit for you here, we're going to do that for the audience of people that will be tuned in. And I know there's something else he would like to do for you, and I would do it if I was, he asked me to do it. We would be looking at your personal year cycle. Now, he has a way in which he does it. He starts it from the month of January, going all the way into October. So every October, you kind of get a start of how the following year would be, September into October. I kind of take it from when the person has the birthday. So in your case, you're born September the 11th. So I wouldn't look at September the 11th for this year yet. I would look at what the number was last year. So last year was 2020, which added as a 40, which reduces to the number 4. 9 and 11 is 20. 20 and 4 is 24, which is a 6. So you were in a 6 personal year. Oh, you're welcome. You were in a 6 personal year still right now. You're in a 6 personal year from last year's birthday, right? Your last age, the age that you're in right now. So being 32, right? 32, you're already 3 years into the mini cycle of destiny, which is governed by your birthday number. So you get to now the full extent of what the 11 is for you. Now, I always tell people, look at, do some research. Now, correspondence wise, 11 is symbolic of the 11th astrological house. That's the house of friends. So you might pay attention to how your friends are, how you're interacting with your friends, or you might acquire new friends. Then the number 11th could be symbolized as the 11th astrological sign, which is the sun sign of Aquarius. Or here's something else. Who is born in the 11th month? The 11th month in numerology, 11 is November in this particular calendar system that we work with. So November is the 11th month. So throughout your life, I would see how many people born under the sign of Scorpio and Sagittarius are born in the month of November that may be your friends or you may have had some difficulties with. You just kind of go back in your mind to see how many people that you might know that were your friends or not your friends, but more so like your friends, born in the month of November, the 11th month, under the sign of under the sign of Scorpio, as well as Capricorn. See how that fits in. How that, that's Sagittarius. So Scorpio and Scorpions and Sagittarians born in the 11th month. How many of those people are friends to you that you might consider distant friends or close friends? So these are some of the things that we can do with numerology. We can kind of play around. Again, it's a matter of preference, how you choose to interpret the numbers. So everything is not like locked in stone. I mean, there's all kind of other systems. I know that some of my Jewish friends, they talk about gematria, and how they work with that. There's people who are working with the Kabbalah, how you're working with that. The tree of life. You only got 10 spheres, not 11 spheres, 10 spheres that you're working with, but you got 22 paths. So there's a whole lot of ways to play with numbers that way. There's Chinese systems, Japanese systems, tons and tons of systems of numerology. You just find out which one works for yourself. Wow, your grandmother's born November the 7th. Now check this out. She's born in the 11th month on November the 7th. Okay. Now she's born November the 7th. Your 11, if we were to break that number down, 11 and write it as 11 slash 2, the 2 automatically attracts 7. So the 2 is like a lunar number that attracts 7, a Neptunian number. 2 and 7 are water element numbers. So your grandmother, born under the sign of Scorpio, and Scorpio is ruled by Mars. The other sign that Scorpio, that the Mars planet rules, is Aries. She's born on the seventh day. So she's a fixed water sign person, sun sign person, born on a Neptunian number, which is 7. So, like I say, she's like a double water sign. Now, it'd be even stronger if she's born on the ninth, but she's born on the 7th. So that's pretty cool. Hey, and 11 and 7 is 18. 1 plus 8 is 9. And you're born in the ninth month. This is how we can just kind of take numbers and play with them. Because I believe once you have a basic understanding what each number means or can mean, then you can really play with the numbers, have some fun, and learn more things about the people around you and how you interact with them. So, this is something, again, that's very important. We're always checking out numbers, checking out vibrations, see where we fit in with other people and how we are moving in that direction with people in our lives. I mean, this is, all important stuff. And we want to be able to have fun with numbers. We don't want to feel like we're being overpowered by the number or we can't get anything done. We want to know that we're actually finding ourselves improving, right? And this is powerful time. People, motivational speakers say it all the time. When is the best time to do something? And they say now. Always doing it now. That's the best time. Not procrastinating. And I can tell you, I'm a number 7 person. So your grandmother's born November the 7th. I'm born March the 16th. 1 plus 6 is 7. But the number 16 as a major arcana key card in the tarot represents Mars. You're born in the ninth month. 9 energy. So you just play with numbers. Once you know what the numbers mean to you, and that's important. Just like in astrology, you got to make it your own eventually. Just like the tarot, you make it your own eventually. And eventually, once you know what these things mean to you and how you relate to them, then you become, if I'm saying this right, the griot, Griot. You become the storyteller for that person. But the whole idea with knowing numerology and astrology or palmistry or whatever, phrenology, the shape of a person's head, is the ability to guide the person. Let them know what their talents are, what their skill, how they can take the talents and develop them and have a skill set, right? How to get better, and then how to put them into a path. Like a perfect example, um, the tennis sisters, their father, what he learned how to be their manager. He learned the game by like doing research, and then when YouTube came out, he started studying YouTube, studying all these different things about tennis and the game. Related that to his daughters, and look at them now, top of the world. They understood the environment. They didn't have to stay there. They moved from the concrete court to the dirt court to the grass court to the world stage. Just knowing their element, knowing their skills, knowing what they could do. And we know elders can help us get to where we have to go. Elders. If we listen to elders, elders live through it all, especially if they had their ups and downs, but they live through it all. They can tell us some things that you can't get in a book. There's no way you can learn it in a book. And people ask me, how did you get started with this? Who was your teacher? When I thought about it, just like in my first book, Dancing in the Light of Divine Grace, which again, I'll say all the books, you can get all my books on Amazon. This book right here, got its rubber band, my copy of this. You can find this book on Amazon, Dancing in the Light of Divine Grace. And that figure there is a digital figure that I designed to put on that book. But anyway, my mother was my first spiritual and metaphysical teacher. My mother was into the Bible, yeah, but she didn't see herself as a Christian woman per se. She saw herself as someone who was studying the mysteries of life itself. She was a student of Rosicrucians. She was a student of Astara. Astara organization is still around today, like the Rosicrucian Association, which is called the Ancient Mystical Order of the Rose Cross, meaning the rose on the cross. The cross was life, the man or woman on life, and how their heart, the wisdom within them, unfolded. Astara, like the stars. She was my first spiritual teacher. So while my friends were out there playing in the street and she let me have my childhood, she also was bringing her friends around and had her friends look at me. I didn't even understand what the friends were doing. And I didn't have to know because she knew I would talk too much anyway. I might leave the house. I'm like, yeah, my mom had some friends come over and told me this. So she knew not to divulge anything. Just let me be a child. But when I was in college, that's when this third center exploded and opened up. Then she started showing I was writing more things. And then when I would come home, every now and then she'd bring me in touch with some people that would come over. I didn't know what was really happening. Here I am in college, right? 18 through 22. But when I got out of college, and then of course when she started to tell me, hey, I don't think I'm going to be around on the planet much longer. So I need to introduce you to my circle of friends. That's why I have this here. Circle of. Now, Grace was my mother's name. My mother's birth name is Grace. So my circle of grace, one, means she's the first grace in my life. And she wanted to have, yes, she wanted to have her own circle, her own spiritual circle, but she became ill with diabetes, and she had a fall in my aunt's house where we stayed. One of her older sisters, she fought off a concussion, and then in the month of March of 1981, she fell into a coma. So she was already in a nursing home in 1979 or so. It's 1976. I drew a picture of her. She sat for the first time and let me draw her. I have the picture of her in this book toward the end. And people always say, well, these things aren't always real. But I knew that at some point she was going to come back spiritually into my life. So this is the drawing I did of my mother. And I did this drawing on August the 9th, 1976, which she would have been 57 years of age, I believe, because she was born in 1918. So yeah, she would have been 58. She would have been 58 years of age. But that's the drawing I did. The drawing was done in pencil and a regular black ink writing pen, big pen. And she sat and let me draw it. It took 45 minutes. I was an art major. So I was able to draw this and come strongly with this information for her. and it was the opportunity to be able to carry out her teachings. And the thing about my mother, she said, you got to learn it for yourself. I remember her in 1979. She had a car. It was a Mercury Caliente, burgundy. And she would have me drive her around to all her friends. Every weekend or every other weekend, we would drive. And she would have me, because we lived in Long Island in Nassau County, she would have me first drive all the way out to Shirley, New York. That's on Long Island. She knew some people out there. I used to say, who do you know out here? I know your brother lives in Amityville, Uncle Wes, but who do you know way out in Shirley? And we would go out there. And she had some Italian lady friends out there. Little did I know that these were the people that were in the Rosicrucian Society and Astara groups that she was studying with. There used to be a AMORC group in Westbury, Long Island, New York, in an old Jewish synagogue that was turned into a Masonic hall. And the Masonic hall people rented out to the Rosicrucians. And I remember driving my mother to meetings. I never went in. She always invited me to come in. I could have sat in a lobby or something. I didn't know what all this stuff was about, really. But when I was 8 years old, I had what I thought was a dream. And the dream was really a vision of the college campus I would go to, experience more spiritual things, and then graduate. Now, you have the number 11. So she's allowing me, she's giving this information to relay to you because she was born August the 11th, 1981, and she transitioned through the coma while in the coma on May 13th, 1981. So she's born 1918, August the 11th, 1918, transpired on her 63rd birthday, but she was 62 on May 13th. May 13th is Stevie Wonder's birthday. May 13th of 1981 at around 11 o'clock at night. But she had me administer her last rites. She asked me to do all of that before she even knew that this was coming up. But she had me meet all these friends every Saturday. We would hang out with a group of her friends. We might hang out with them for 2 hours. Then we would drive a little closer home. So she knew people in Shirley, New York, Long Island. And then we would come on through the Southampton side, somebody she knew there. And then we'd come on home. After being at one house for 2 hours, 3 hours, somebody else for another 2 or 3 hours. But what I didn't understand was she was introducing me to her friends who were quietly observing me to see where I was with all of this spiritual, metaphysical stuff. We kept on every weekend to the point that we actually got all the way up into New Rochelle in a matter of 6 months. Got all the way up into New Rochelle, New York. Amazing. In New Rochelle, New York. We were up there. Now, during this time of her doing all this traveling and showing me all of her friends, I was also at that time when I met Lloyd Strahorn in 1978. So all this stuff was overlapping. And sometimes some of her friends, there was a guy, I never forget his name now, but he was part Cherokee like my mother was. My mother had some Cherokee and some Irish in her. And this man was like all Cherokee. However, he was extremely, extremely psychic. Now, my mother was about 18 years older than him because he was born in 1936. So at the time when I met this fellow, he was already in his 40s. Quick mind, sharp mind. Sometimes he would say stuff, it was almost painful when he said it. He worked with delinquent teenagers. That was his job, social work, using his psychic abilities to assist them. Can't remember his name, but I could see his face as clear as a bell. This man was extremely psychic, and his birthday, I'm born March 16th in 1952. He was born March 16th, 1936. So he was already what? 16 years older than me. My mother was 18 years older than him. So isn't that something? And this guy had some serious, he was another person. He could look at you and just read you all the time. And every time I heard him and my mom talking, I'd come downstairs and just sit around and listen to them. My mother had two older sisters, my Aunt Mamie and my Aunt Fanny. They also had their gifts. The people in the South would say, born with a veil over. I'll have to look that up. Hold on. Let me go to my phone, my note side, and I can look that up for you. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Hold on. Let me give you my Cash App. Wasn't even expecting this. This is how spirit works, right? It tells you to do things at a certain time. So here's my, wrong thing. Here's my Cash App. Let me get the right thing. Right thing. Okay. Mm-mm. Okay. Should make it shorter. Mm. Do-do-do-do-do. Okay, here's my Cash App. There you go. That's my Cash App. So, yeah, it was always a powerful time. And she would put me out there with all of these people, her friends. But the most profound one is when she took me to Brooklyn. And I don't know if we were in Bed-Stuy section or Crown Heights or the Midwood section, but we were in Brooklyn one Saturday, and she went there specifically all day. We went and was a Haitian woman, and it was unique. Yes, the veil over your eyes. Yeah, see, my my aunt Mamie, she could read with a candle. My aunt Fanny read the palms. My mother scribed using water in a glass or a bowl, but mainly water in a clear glass. And she would pray over it, and the bubbles would pop up, bam, and then she'd start reading. Sometimes she'd sing a hymn. So, yeah, they had those three sisters had the veil over the eyes, and then she had two brothers, one younger by 2 or 3 years and one older. My uncle Ansel, who used to live in South Plainfield and Paterson, New Jersey, he had it. And I could tell he had it because he had a certain sparkle in his eye, but he was more of a ladies' man. His name was Ansel. Everybody called him Ham. He had quick wit. He loved to dance. When he danced, you never hear him on the floor dancing. But he was a ladies' man. He was Sagittarius, December 1st, 1921. So he was 3 years younger than my mom, but he had the ability. And so my mother took me to this Haitian woman's house, and everybody was in this house, and she's laughing and talking with the lady's husband, and so on and so forth. And then all of a sudden, she says, "Come on, we got to meet." And this woman in the kitchen, "Grace, Grace, oh, who's this?" And she said, "This is Francis, my youngest son, the one I'm telling you about." He said, "Oh, bring him back here." And I was like, "Whoa, what's going on? What are you doing, Mom?" She said, "Shh, come on." We go in the kitchen. So this woman, we're sitting down. Oh man, the food smelled. We were actually, I didn't know we was going to have dinner there, a little bit of dinner, but we were in the middle of like, which would have been close to lunch. We were sitting in there, and this lady asking me in front of me, she's talking to my mother. "What's happening, Grace? What's going on? How's this? How's that?" Next thing I know, they go. She says, my mother tells her something. She had been telling her things about me. I didn't know. Finally, lady with these thick hands, the Haitian lady said, "Read my poem. Read my poem." And I'm going like, "I don't know what you're talking about." That lady looked me in my eyes. She said, "You do know what I'm talking about. Read my poems." I said, "I don't, I don't know. I don't know your palm from the sole of your feet. I don't know what you're talking about." She kept at it. She kept at it. Finally, she calmed down and she says, "Mother Grace, can you leave us in the kitchen? Can you go and chit chat with my family?" And I'm going, "Oh, I'm in trouble now." And you know those houses, this is a beautiful house with the like a court, not the curtain, but sort of like the accordion doors, because between I guess the dining room and the kitchen was that wide doorway. So she had those things that can close and like a magnet stay closed. And I'm going, this lady's gonna kick my ass. My mother is in the dining room and the living room chit chatting away with family and friends who are all a part of the Rosicrucians and the starter groups like my mother. And I'm sweating. The lady looks around and she goes, she gets this big can out, like a Maxwell coffee can, but it was an empty. She reaches in, pulls out what looked like bones to me. She said, "Yeah, read this." I said, "I'm not touching no bones. No, I'm not." But she said, "Ah, but you know how to use the word read." I said, "So that doesn't mean I know that I know." So she scooped them up, put them in the can, lit. She grabbed something else, some rocks, stone. I didn't know. I was attracted to gemstones, but not like that then. She put them out there. "Read, pick them up, tell me read." I said, "No, no, no, I'm not touching that." So she looked around again. She's looking and she's looking. She goes, "Ah." She had a necklace on. Took the necklace off. "No," I said, "that's got a lot of energy." She said, "See, you know something, but you're not saying that you know. It's time to confess." I don't know what you want me to do. So then she goes, "Ha ha." I go, "What is she talking about?" She says, "Do you like coffee? Would you like to have a cup of coffee with me?" I said, "Yeah, I love coffee. Would you like to also have some tea with me?" "I love tea too." "Sit." Got the coffee grounds out. She got the tea brewing for the coffee, the hot water for the coffee and the tea. Finally, she comes out with these beautiful cups. And she says, "Do you like your coffee with milk, sugar, cream?" I go, "Well, sometimes I like it black, just as it is." Her eyes got like this, and I was going like, well, what does that mean? She says, "Take your time. We're going to sip, and I'm going to show you how to read coffee grounds." So I'm going like, coffee grounds? Coffee grounds. She said, "Take your time." So we sipping and we sipping. Now she didn't put a lot of coffee in there, just enough so the grounds are at the bottom. She had me sip till almost what would be like a tablespoon of coffee, black coffee left. And then she took a napkin, put it on the saucer. We turned the cup, drained the liquid out, and we could turn in the cup back and forth until all the liquid was out. Then she had me turn the cup over, make sure all the liquid drained out. Then she had me turn the cup up. She says, I said, what are we going to do now? She said, no, 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 no. We got some tea to drink. I said, oh, God. This lady set me up for something. So, anyway, we did the same with the tea. And she had me look. She said, now I want you to look. I don't want you to go like this. I don't want you to go like that. I don't want you to go like this. I just want you to hold the bottom of the cup and look. Tell me what you see. I saw numbers, letters, faces. I was describing people. She's writing it all down. Went to the coffee teacup, did the same. She says, you're talking about my husband in the coffee cup. I said, your husband here? He says, yeah, he's talking to your mama right now. He's the one with the rough voice. And this tea, you're talking about me. And I'm going like, what's going on? Anyway, that whole ordeal was about an hour in her kitchen. And I'm getting hungry because she's got some good food. And, I saw her, making stuff and all this stuff. So anyway, she called my mother back in and she says, Grace, he has it. I say, have what? She says, you were born with many, many gifts. She goes on to say, you were born with the gift to see, the gift of hearing things. You're born with a lot of gifts, but you can't chase after it now. It must come to you. Don't chase it, let it come to you. After that, we had a late lunch. And we pulled out of there heading back to Long Island. I was asking my mother all of this stuff like, who is that lady and what is she about? And she said, don't worry. She told me, if you ever need anything, do not hesitate to call her. I said, when did she say that? She says, while you were getting ready. You didn't hear her say it? I said, man, I'm so taken aback with what was going on today. I'm in a state of shock. She said, well, now you know. You can read coffee grounds and you can read teas. She says, tea leaf. She says, you wouldn't touch her bones. I said, no, I didn't do that. You wouldn't touch her necklace. You didn't want to touch her stones. I said, well, those are her things. And you wouldn't look at her cards. And she had what they call a Spanish deck. So when I saw that she had the cards, I knew that she was doing stuff. Late, we kept going, traveling every weekend. We went into Spanish Harlem, the west side of Harlem. We also did Queens and Brooklyn. No, my mother knew some people. I don't know where these people came from, but she knew these people. And eventually we got up into Mount Vernon and New Rochelle. I remember we were in the vicinity where Reverend Ike's church was. And she used to say, we got to go to that church one day. But I understand that the line is wrapped outside around the corner, 175th Street and Broadway. We used to see the marquee, Reverend Ike, United Palace of Christ, Reverend Ike. I said, I hope we can go one day. We never had a chance to do it. And I remember we drove up there one time, and I think his service started like at 1 or 2 o'clock, and there was people from different sides off Broadway or from 175th waiting to go in. I said, we'll never get in there. My mother said, well, we could just watch the crowd. We could see the people go. But we never had a chance to really experience it. We used to listen to the radio shows during the week after the gospel. She used to listen to WWRL gospel radio stations, and I would be homesick with asthma, so we would do that and blah 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 blah. It was amazing time. I wish I had more awareness to understand that she was actually leaving me her circles of friends that I could always go to and talk and develop myself. But, I studied on my own, and eventually I kept going. And thank you so much. Thank you so much. It came through over here. It was a wonderful time that I had this opportunity to be present, to be present, to have such an opportunity, to be able to share and learn. Now, being I live out here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I've been out here 11 years. Trying to find people to teach is not easy. It's a whole new thing for me now to find the people that I'm supposed to teach. But I know that eventually, if I stay current, stay visible, people will find me. A lot of people know that I got these abilities. A lot of people know. And what I've found over the years is important to stick with one group as much as you can, not be all over the place. So I do know, I do understand, I do realize the importance of how we have what we have and how we're here to share it in the world. And there is so much that's going on in the world. If we become more like our ancient ancestors, we could have less nonsense going on in the world. I know the multiple universes are present, and that through these multiple universes, we are given these opportunities to experience different things, to see a different world. And this is highly important to be able to see a different world unfold in front of us is an amazing thing. Now, I believe I've been on here 2 hours, I guess. I didn't. Next time I do this, though, I'm going to set myself up live like I should have done on my YouTube channel coming through. Somebody on here is watching me in YouTube. And I've been on about 58 minutes, 59, almost an hour. I'm going to do this more often. I just don't know the times a day that I would, come on to do this. But I want to make sure a lot of people. Yeah, but we can figure something out. You're in New York City. I'm here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I do have a private Zoom channel. Um, Here's something for you. There's something I'm doing. It's coming up in September. I did one in already did one of these this month. What it is I've been teaching. I just started this month on August the 10th. So what it is the second Tuesday, but once a month. And I just started one. The one I did was called The Power of Meditation, where for free, now you can give a donation if you want, but for free, I teach for 60 to 90 minutes. So the next one coming up is September the 14th. I'm going to give you my email address. And if you would like to be included, so you can experience this next session, then email me right here. Now, it's going to be on a Tuesday, which will be September the 14th. So Tuesday, September the 14th. Hey, you know what? That's what, 3 days after your birthday. So if you could be on, you should. On Tuesday, September, I think it's right. Actually, September the 15th. I had my dates messed up from before. Um, Let me just make sure I get this right. Yeah, it will be September the 14th. It will be not the 15th. September the 14th, 2021, on, or I should say at, I believe it's going to be 9 p.m. Eastern, Eastern Daylight Time, but I'll just put EST. So I'll be on for about 60 minutes to no more than an hour and a half via my private Zoom channel. And so what will happen is if you want to participate on that day at night, because I do it out here at 7 p.m., I might bring it back a little earlier. I might make it like 6 p.m. or 6:30 p.m. my time, which would be 8:30 p.m. your time. I haven't figured that out yet. But if I do that, then I would be on for at least 90 minutes, right? 8:30 to 9:30, up no more than 10 o'clock. But it's a free enrichment training course. And the reason why I'm doing this is so people can get accustomed to how I teach and what I teach. This particular one on that date is a part of my creative pathwork meditation series. My intensive training course is called Creative 5 Point Creative Pathwork System, trademark system. But this is just meditations, the guided meditations that will be a part of that, at least one of them. And so, what I'm going to be teaching, and I always teach this one to a lot of people, white light meditation. I just give you a taste of it. Also, going to do a pink light and then a gold light. I'm going to teach those three that night. And I have it kind of set up in a PowerPoint presentation at the same time so you'll be able to see the words. I might read some of the words right off the screen, but it's showing how they work and why you use them and what part of the body that they govern. I'm going to talk about all of that in this 75 minute to 90 minute, and there'll be room in there for questions and answers. But it's going to be absolutely free. It's a free enrichment training course class, basically. The 5 point creative pathwork system, which my book is connected to. This book right here is the foundation of the 5 point creative pathwork system. The 5 points in here are called five vessels. Decree is one of them. And I'm going to show people how to, in that intensive training port, which has a big fee on it. So a lot of people couldn't jump on it. I didn't really advertise it correctly, but people can take that one on one. So if you want, this is what you do. You can go to my website and you can see the links to my books on there. Let me give you this first. I'm getting ready to sign off. If you go here to my website, it will allow you to go here and you could read about my books, my 5 books. You can click on there inside the website and read about my 5 books. And there's a link for each one. And you can click on the link and it takes you to Amazon where you can purchase the book. Hopefully, the end of September, going into October, I'll have copies of all 5 of my books here in my residence. And then people could purchase the book for the same thing that they would pay on Amazon. I throw in there extra $2 or $3 for postage, and then what happens is that I could autograph the book for you. So I have Cash App, I have PayPal, I have Venmo, I have even Zelle. So people can come that way, or if people want to send me a check or money order on U.S. funds, we could do that as well. So I feel my voice wanting to shut down. I'm glad I met you, Black Feather. As your birthday comes up, I want to say happy birthday to you. Happy solar return. This was an awesome time. I'm glad I came on here. Uh, Renita Hamilton, thank you for being on here, and whoever else is on, whether you're on Facebook or on my live stream channel in YouTube. Thank you for coming on. There you are, Georgia Sparkles. Yes, I'll put everything here. Oh, you're from London. Okay. Well, let me give you my Georgia Sparkles. Let me give you my website. You can go through, this is for everybody. You can go through the entire website. Now, payment things aren't situated on there, but I will give you my email address, and we can, if you want to make a donation, it's not something that you have to do. That's a matter of you through your heart, what you're feeling. Okay. So www.circlegrace1.us forward. I put that forward slash so it doesn't bounce into something else. But you can go through the website and you can read about my create 5 point creative pathwork system, and it shows you what the price is in there and what the course will be, all the different links. Now, there's 3 other links that I have a connection to. I have 2 cousins. My late aunt Fanny is the mother of the one who has the website called I Get It. I don't think you'll see his face, but that's Joseph Russell Wheeler II. And Joseph Russell Wheeler II has a son, which is Joseph Russell Wheeler III, and he's known as the Onyx Con Foundation, which is the largest African American comic book convention in Atlanta, Georgia. Your name is Georgia. In the state of Georgia, United States, in Atlanta, Joseph Russell Wheeler III is the owner and now has a 501.3C organization for his Onyx Con Foundation or Onyx Con Inc. And you'll see some of his clips. There was he was a part of Netflix Black Lightning comic book series, right? The character Black Lightning. My cousin is in that one. He doesn't have a speaking part. He has some cameo shots up there with Bill Duke and a few other people. He also had a cameo shot in, yes, he also had a cameo shot in the Black Panther movie. At the very end, you see he's a fair complexion brother. At the end, you get his left profile face. and he was there. Then I understand. It was so funny because not seeing. I had to see the movie twice in the movie theaters twice, and then on Netflix twice, several times. Realized that he's related to me. That's my cousin. Then he was in Kevin Hart and what's her name? Tiffany Haddish had a movie, comedy movie called Night School, and he was in that one as well. So he gets around with these cameo shots. But yeah, that's my cousin JR3W, JRW3. He's an artist, awesome artist. Now he didn't do, oh gosh, he didn't do that logo. That logo I drew myself a long time ago in 1985. But it's not this one. But he restructured. But when you go on my website, you'll see how he restructured my new link for me, my new, as we call it, my new logo. I don't think I have it in this book. No, he put together my new logo, which we took this fellow in the center that had a fez, and we put him in a full lotus with 10 rays coming out, 5 on one side and 5 on the other, and then a ray coming down the center, and he moved the one up here. So I'm going to get a completely different banner, but my cousin, the third, was awesome that he was able to put that together for me. Yes. And so everything is there now. You could go there and stay in touch. Georgia Sparkles or anybody that's watching from here, if you want to email me, here's my email address. If you ever want to email me, you can email me there and we can connect and talk. So, I have people that I spiritually mentor. I have 3 people in the UK that I spiritually mentor, and one person who's an American citizen. In fact, one of the 3 people is a woman who was born in Boston, Massachusetts, who's married to a guy in the UK. And so she and her husband and another fellow in the UK, I have that connection with as their spiritual father, so to speak. Then I have a spiritual daughter who lives in South Korea, Daejeon, South Korea, and I've been mentoring her for the past long time. I say about 12 years, 13 years now. So I got people of different ages all over the United States and abroad that I spiritually mentor. And what that basically means, my ancestors bring them to my attention in a dream as to be a candidate, and then we take it from there. And I work with them. In other words, I help them now as a spiritual mentor. What that means, I help them get clarification on their path in life, what they're supposed to be doing now, or if they already know what they're doing now, how they can further enhance it. And my expertise comes through not just spiritual consultations, spiritually reading them, knowing about numerology, helping them understand their dreams better, but also paying attention to what my ancestors, my late mother, who comes to me, that I refer to as Mother Grace, and her mother, which is my grandma Charlotte, how we come together and give them information. I have connections to Akhenaten and Nefertiti. So I channeled 2 books from them of my experiences. Here's The Wisdom of Akhenaten as I Am. You can get this on Amazon for $11.11 as a paperback, and also as a ebook for $7.77. You can get The Gift, which is The Wisdom of Nefertiti as I Am, but you can only get it as a paperback for $11.11. The other book that I showed you, Dancing in the Light of Divine Grace, you can get that as an ebook for $8.88. The paperback is 25. You can get this book right here called The Age of Remembrance, The Divine I Am Presence in Selenite. This is all about the gemstone selenite. And this is a picture of my tabular that sits here in my living room. And these are the eyebrows. This is another eye up here. This is, you'll also see an eye in this here. And that's the face of a selenite guardian looking straight at you, other guardians. And it's in the tabular that I have here. So all of these books are on Amazon. And the selenite book, you can get it for $11. No ebook. Nefertiti said, no more ebooks. He said, people don't need to, they're on electronics all day. This is decree and it shall be, speak as I am, meaning the I am presence. And this is the foundation of my 5-point creative pathwork intensive training program that has a 3-digit fee to it. But I'm also working on my numerology book. I'm also working, I don't know what I'm going to charge for the numerology book yet. I'm also working on another book, which is White Light Meditation 7.0, but I'm not planning to bring that one out until next year sometime. I don't know yet. It may come out in the winter time. Decree and it shall be talks about the 5 vessels within my system they call a 5-point system. They are affirmations, prayer, affirmative prayer, how to give yourself a treatment through affirmation, prayer, affirmative prayer, meditation. And while you can use meditation as the seed of foundation to ride the energy, and then how to speak a decree for yourself or decrees. And this is the thinnest book I've ever written, 66 pages, 10 chapters. Goes for $12 as a paperback. Again, no ebook. So I'm going to, didn't know I had people back here. Well, it was great knowing you, Georgia Sparkles. And you'll be able to come back hopefully and see this in here. My channel is, now I don't know when you go live in the studio here on YouTube, will it stay in my page? My page is youtube.com/user, user// circle of grace 1. I usually write it out capital C, capital O, capital G with the number 1 at the end. So I don't know if you're going to get it here. And I didn't record it. Usually I record myself talking away. Next time I'll do that through my phone. I will record myself giving out these teachings because I want everybody to have them. So I'm going to sign off. Thank you, Georgia Sparks, and the other person. I don't know who that person was. Maybe it could be the same. That was Black Feather over there on my Facebook channel, along with Vernita Hamilton. I believe that was there. So I want to thank everybody. You are amazing too. Thank you so much. I'm going to sign off. It's time for me to have some dinner out here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So I need to get off and have some sustenance. But I want to thank all of you for being on here with me today. I'm glad I came on and I stayed on. Here it says I've been on 2 hours and 49 minutes. So I know it's only a long time. So I'm glad that I came on. I don't know if I'm going to go on Instagram later. I just did some recordings, 3-minute videos I did last night in 5 parts on using like guided meditation. So anyway, it's time for me to sign off. Thank you so much for your time and listening and being here with me. I'm going to sign out of, yes, we'll be in touch, Georgia Sparkles. So you have a good day. Let me sign off here in the YouTube channel as of right now. Okay, so I'm off there. So yeah, looks like I'm gonna be in the system. It picked me up, so I should be in the system anyway. And now I'm gonna jump over here to my Facebook using Restream. Thank you so much, everybody here. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. See you next time. My grace is your grace. Until next time, remember that divine grace is a blessing as we are alive and well in the age of remembrance, meaning the age of remembering our divinity, our divine self. So, end the stream here.